welcome back to Table Talk and Tumbleweeds. We're glad you're with us. We are continuing our discussion for this second week of Lent, where we're talking about truth.
Choosing truth.
Choosing truth. And so we've talked a little bit about the writers of Rohan and how Rohan has been made into this paralyzed, paranoid place.
Yes,
And
because of the lies of Wormtongue, who's actually channeling Saruman.
Yeah, he's one of Saruman's minions who was explicitly sent into this place to destabilize it.
Yes.
Through the use of constant lies.
Constant, and lies and manipulation. Lies and half-truths, enough of the truth, manipulation.
Yeah, I think that the enough of the truth comes up more with Denethor, this is a spoiler, where the Palantir shows him the truth, because it has to by nature, but it shows him a specific truth. So that's Denethor who gets the truth, and yet still falls into despair.
And I think that's next week or the week after.
This is a bit of a spoiler.
Bit of a spoiler, you're not supposed to do that. But you have this sort of, this interesting thing where Gandalf speaks the truth to him. But you know, this is something that we talked about in the last video. You know, that liars get to tell you what you want to hear.
Yeah.
Truth tellers are stuck with the truth, and this is Gandalf, right? When he walks in at first, and I think I have the quote here where I have too many quotes here.
Why should I welcome you, Gandalf Stormcrow? With what evils you come worse than before, as might be expected. That Gandalf is always a herald of woe. He's
a herald of woe, and he has to be, because there's bad stuff going on, and he keeps having to tell him.
Yeah.
And then Wormtongue.
Yes.
And then Wormtongue, of course, being Wormtongue, you know, as soon as Theoden says that, you know, you know, you're so right. Oh my gosh, you're so smart. You're the smartest emperor who ever was. You are so able to see this guy lying. Good job, Emperor. Stormcrow, you're always, you know, I call you Mr. Liar all the time, right? You know.
This sounds like something else that tells you that you're always right and you're so smart.
Yeah. You're all, oh my gosh, Theoden, you're so smart. You're right. He's an evil man. So you have, you know, Gandalf walking in here, sort of stuck with the problem, which is that he needs to tell Theoden a very uncomfortable truth, and Theoden doesn't want to recognize it because Theoden is sort of trapped in this web of lies. And so, you have this, you know, this bit of banter back and forth between Gandalf. And of course, the interesting thing is that Gandalf comes in as a truth teller, but he tells a lie in order to come in.
Yeah, you wouldn't begrudge an old man his walking stick, would you?
Yes, and you know, I can't. It's
happy to give up the sword. Just let me keep my staff.
Yeah, because this innocent little staff. And I'm sort of watching this, and I'm like, do you people know nothing of wizards? You know?
It is worth saying there's only 5 of them, and one of them's Saruman. So you know.
That's true. There's not that many.
Maybe they don't know that much about them, but at the same time, like
they've never seen Lord of the Rings.
It's so obvious the wizard staff is the crucial thing, right?
Right.
And so, would you trust him with that? There's a point where he's not. Back to the story with the question about, you know, is there anybody living in your attic? In Nazi Germany, they're saying, give us all your weapons. He says, this isn't a weapon.
This is not a weapon.
He's not telling the
droids you're looking for.
But he's telling what needs to be said.
Yes, he's not telling the literal truth. He's saying what needs to be said. And so he has this, but then you have that big scene after he's just been accused of being this guy that brings it in, and all of a sudden, you know, in the movie he throws off his cloak, right? He's all glowy white, right? He raised his staff. There was a roll of thunder. The sunlight was blotted out from the eastern windows. The whole hall became suddenly dark as night. The fire faded to sullen embers. Only Gandalf could be seen, standing white and tall before the blackened hearth. So this is this big, you know, darkness. And you can sort of say symbolically that's the darkness of the lies that have already surrounded them.
And Gandalf is going to be the light that pierces through that darkness.
Yes.
At least that's how he set himself up to be.
Yes.
Can you trust him?
Oh.
Well, that must be.
You dare not?
Well, but that must be where Theoden is sitting here. Is okay. Is this a theatrical moment where he's trying to actually influence me? Mm-hmm. Is this another influencer?
Yeah, and that's part of the paranoia. How do I know that this man speaks the truth? And that's where you have this, you know, Gandalf weaves more of his magic and lifted his staff and pointed to a high window. There the darkness seemed to clear, and through the opening could be seen high and fair a patch of shining sky, right? So you have this moment in which, everything seems dark. Here's your hope, right?
And so when Theoden responds, it is not so dark here.
Yes.
And Gandalf says, nor does age lie so heavily on your shoulders as some would have you think.
Yes.
Because he has been lied to the point where he believes he is a doddering old man who's not capable of anything. Everyone is against him. And Gandalf says, no, look, the people here trust you. The people here love you. Éomer loves you, and you sent him away, but he still loves you.
Yes. Speaking these truths. And so you have this wonderful theatrical scene, but like even before this sort of gradual, when Gandalf makes the darkness and just his light and then the light from the window, and he says, okay, stand up and let's go outside. And they come out before your doors and look abroad. Too long have you sat in shadows and trusted to twisted tales and crooked promptings. And that's when Theoden gets up, the doors fly open, and Theoden is standing there, right? Breathe the free air again. So there's this sense in which, and I think you and I had talked about this earlier, there's a couple of things that go on for me when I'm reading that. First, I imagine Paul and the scales falling from his eyes, right? Yeah. Paul was also, I don't want to say caught in a web of lies, but Paul is persecuting Christians, right? And because he believed that what they were doing was destructive to community, right? And then he has this blinding light, this vision on the road to Damascus, and he falls to his knees and eventually crawls his way to Ananias, right? And the scales fall from his eyes, and he's like, oh, I see what I've done, and what I've done was wrong, and now he does a 180.
Complete 180.
Complete 180. Paul is not afraid to admit that he was completely wrong, and he spends his sort of life actively undoing what he had been doing before that vision. So that's one scene. It's an imperfect analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that moment of the scales falling from his eyes and realizing I have been wrong. Because it's not just the scales fall from his eyes and allow him to see physical vision again.
Yes.
He has a new, renewed, better vision of what this community is supposed to be.
And I think what the comparison is, right? And I think what the valuable comparison here, what the valuable link is that there's always that thing that's going to break through the darkness.
Yeah.
Right, and you're going to see it, and you're going to go, oh, goodness,
It's overwhelming.
It's overwhelming, and I think we can block it out, but it continually tries to press its way in. And you and I had touched on this before, and I'm going to do this very cautiously, but there's also the analogy of Plato's cave.
Yes.
Right, where Plato talks about people who are sort of like the light comes from behind them,
They
right?
see the puppets on the wall.
See
and
the puppets on the
that's
wall,
reality.
that's true. And then you turn around and you say, oh, there's puppet masters back there. And most people sort of end at that, right?
But the real purpose of the cave is to get out of the cave
So
and
you
see the sunlight for real.
Right, and so then when you walk out of the cave, and you're not just looking at the puppet masters that are manipulating the light, you're walking out of the cave and you're seeing the light itself. And of course, Plato was influential on Christian perspectives, right? And this idea of the light. But and I think I'm a little bit ahead of myself here, because the problem is, and Plato's right about this, the problem is, when you go back into the cave, what happens? You tell people the truth and they don't believe you, right? They stone you, they drive you out. Prophets are never accepted in their own home. So I think, I'm trying to remember what else we wanted to talk about in this particular episode or this particular video, but that's the problem, right? Because you have, once you see the truth, how do you get people to listen? Now, Gandalf has his staff.
Yes.
Right? But, Aemir, who loved Theoden, and Theoden at one point loved, it's his nephew, Aemir's been telling him the truth all along, and it got him locked up, right?
Yeah. So truth is not defense against...
Truth is not defense against suffering. Evil. So I think that the thing that really, that ties these together is you have this sort of sense in which lies are like a cage, right? They trap you, they keep you from seeing, they keep you from acting, and that when Theoden walks out into the light, there's that freedom, But that freedom isn't just for him. That freedom translates into freedom for the community as well.
In part because as the king, he's the one who sets this pattern.
Right, and I just sort of, maybe to just like bring Paul in just for a moment here, and I keep trying to bring him in, is that, I'm thinking here of Ephesians and other places as well. I think Colossians, where he's talking about what happens when we lie, and Paul explicitly links truth-telling to fellowships. Ephesians, put away falsehood, let all of us speak the truth to our neighbors, we are members of one another. So that for Paul, as for Lord of the Rings, or maybe Lord of the Rings as for Paul, lies are not personal moral failures, right? They're about communal damage. Yeah. And the truth makes fellowship possible, and that's part of what it means to be a Christian community, is a community which is committed to telling the truth to one another, right? So the new life of Christ is one in which we don't lie, we don't deceive, we don't just live for ourselves, so that truth-telling is not about accuracy, it's about faithful speech.
So does this go back to the earlier discussion about when your spouse asks you a question that you don't want to answer? The correct answer is one that builds the community and says, this is, which what they're asking is, do you still love me? And the answer is, yes, I do.
Yes, I do.
And it has nothing to do with the dress.
Yes, and I think that this is where tell the truth, tell a lie, as opposed to community, right? Is because it kind of depends. You probably know how your spouse feels about her body, right? And so sometimes maybe the other dress. And your spouse might be, that's totally fine, right? Because some of it is knowing who you're speaking to, right? That's the relational part of truth-telling.
Sure.
Right? So if you're speaking to a 5-year-old, you might tell little lies to, Santa Claus or whatever, right? You speak truths depending on the relationship. And I know and that's a little uncomfortable, right? Because it's much easier to say, well, just tell the truth all the time.
It's a very uncomfortable thing. But it is also a part of the way that we work in our world as well. And again, sorry, Terry Pratchett talks about this as lies to children.
Right.
And being a liar to children is a great profession. We call it teacher.
Yeah.
Because, you don't tell children everything. You tell a 5-year-old, this is how the world works. And then they get older and it's more complex. And they get older and it's more complex. And it gets older and they get more complex. But that first time you say the sky is blue because of simple, that's what color it is.
Yeah.
That's what you tell them. And then you get Rayleigh scattering and you get this stuff and you get other stuff as you get older and older. It wasn't a lie. It was, this is the language that this child can understand.
So education is like, well, yes, but year
a progressive series of closer and closer lies to the truth.
Yes, or closer, or more and more elaborate nuances on what was spoken, and I think so. Yeah, so how we speak to one another, and I think we'll come back to this in the next video. How we speak to one another is important. But one of the difficulties is, but I do think, we are a community that tells the truth. Right. So how do we handle that truth telling? What do we do with that truth telling? Well, this is back to Plato's cave for a moment, right? I mean, that's the thing with Plato's cave, and it's also pretty clear in Scripture as well, right? The person that goes out and sees the truth, walks in the light of the truth, and goes back to tell people, well, that person is a pariah. The prophet is never respected in their own hometown. So I think that the question, and this is probably one that we'll have to put in the next video, the question becomes, okay, so if I don't have Gandalf's staff and can zap people, how do we speak the truth to one another? And I think that's the question that we will leave for the next episode, the next video, which should be coming up next on your playlist.